Forest staff, and our partners. As always, please submit your questions early, emailed to our email account for the Garnet Fire, and we'll get to those questions after the formal presentation of the fire. First up, we're going to bring up our operational section chief, Chad Acosta.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone online. So I was able to drive the whole west side of the fire today, as well as fly almost all of it. And I want to highlight a couple things. Essentially, the fire is still held in the same footprint. There's been no growth, and happy to report that last night we tied in our firing operation up in Division Mike. So at this point, we have line all the way around the fire, and I'm feeling really good about it. So I'll get started down here in the Balch Camp area. Drove all that area today. Everything looks really good. There was a lot of hose, a lot of pumps, trash from all the firefighters. It looks great all the way through this southwestern side of the fire. They've really put in a lot of work the last couple days to get all of the hose and everything out of there. When it transitions out of Dinky Creek and up onto Cicada Ridge, this is a hand line that the hot shot crews put in. It's very steep country, and you'll have to give us a couple more days just to validate and ensure that this is contained. But I flew it very low level in the helicopter today, and it looks really good. But we want to get some troops in there. It's just been really smoky, and we have to fly them in to get them in there. Coming along the Cicada Ridge, I'll share that I was pretty impressed. A couple times throughout the divisions up here, I saw resource advisors and archaeologists and all of our firefighters circled up, and what they're talking about is their repair plan, which is a great sign for the fire. So they're talking about how are we going to repair the roads, the dozer lines, the hand lines, where we're going to do that. So it's very good communication with the resource advisors, the forest, and the firefighters out here. And they've been doing that pretty much all the way around the fire, except for we're not quite there yet in the north. So I'll start in Juliet. Bear Meadow still looks really good. Flew that today. Drove it. There's going to be no issues. I feel very confident that this section of Bear Meadow will turn contained in the near future. Getting up onto I'm going to talk a little bit about this complex burn that the firefighters pulled off and why I'm proud of them, and talk a little bit about why this was so difficult and why it took so long. You may have been wondering why did it take 3, 4, 5 days to get this 1.5 mile piece done. For those of you that know the McKinley Grove Road through there, and Laurel Creek and Bear Creek, and there's some steep drainages here. And anytime you're driving a road and you're driving out the road, let's say towards Washawn, and you're making a right-hand turn, the tighter the turn, the tighter the drainage is below you. So as we fire this, those drainages act as chutes, and embers just fly right up them and over the line. So we had to go very slow. We had to do it very strategic. We had to remove as much of the vegetation along the roadway as we could, and that's why that little piece took so long. But I'm happy to report that so far there's been 0 spots over that line, and I'm very, very confident that this will stay where it's at and we won't have any issues. And I wanted to kind of give an example. These roads where there's ins and out, I was talking about that yesterday, the S-turns. This is also a mid-slope road, which means, what does that mean? It means the road doesn't go along the ridge, it goes along the side of the hill. And when you have mid-slope roads, those become very difficult for us to fire, and we have to go very slow. Let's transition the camera down here to Trimmer. It's Trimmer Springs Road, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. If you drive Trimmer Springs, you can see it's windy, it turns back and forth. This road right here is mid-slope, it's not on the ridge. If we were to try to fire that, use it as a holding feature, we'd have a lot of trouble keeping it on that road, especially with the brush component that's out there. You'll see what the firefighters did with the bulldozer is they followed the ridge line right above it, and they stayed up on the ridge. So we wouldn't have used the roads. Luckily, we won't have to. We're not going to have to. But if we needed to, this contingency line was perfectly placed right along the ridge. And that's I just wanted to share that because what we weren't able to do in the north, we were able to do down here, and that's why it took so long. So as I continue out the McKinley Grove Road in Oscar out towards Washawn, a lot of the resource advisors, a lot of hose getting pulled out of there. Same story. Everything looks really good. Feel very confident. This is a really rocky granite escarpment out here. This is why this isn't turned black yet. We can't get firefighters in there. We're just going to continue to watch it with drones and IR. And we're confident that it's good, but we're not yet ready to say it's contained. Coming around on the west side or the east side of the fire, Quebec and Tango, heavily flown with IR today with helicopters, UAS, troops are still in there, feeling really good. We just got some, like I said, some really steep escarpments down in here that's why it's not black yet. We just want to give us a little more time to make sure it's good. I'm feeling very confident. I flew low level through the Kings today in the helicopter. Everything looks really good. So nothing to report as we transition this fire and button it up and then start repairing it for the forest. End of report.
Great, thanks, Chad. Appreciate that. Next up from Fire Behavior is going to be Kevin Montoya.
Good evening. Okay, so this is our weather matrix, and we are still forecasting a warming trend to go on through the latter part of the week, with temperatures getting up into the low to mid 80s and our relative humidity dropping down in the 20s and maybe even down into the 10% range. What's new is a chance of wetting rain. So we call wetting rain anything that's more than 1/10 of an inch, so not a lot, but that's starting to peak into the forecast, and we'll start seeing chances of wetting rain somewhere in the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, but our incident meteorologist will keep us updated on that, and we'll put that in the next report. On the fire behavior side of the shop, those warmer, drier conditions, especially in that northern end of the fire where the firing operation just completed, may allow for any hidden spots that kicked out during the firing operation that just weren't able to get established because there wasn't enough sunlight and the humidity was too high. Those may start showing themselves. But we have a lot of firefighters in that area, and a lot of equipment, a lot of crews, and we've been flying it with drones with infrared cameras and haven't been able to detect any thus far. That's all from the Fire Behavior Shop.
Great, thanks, Kevin. Appreciate that. Next up from the Fresno County Sheriff's Office, Lieutenant Hamilton.
Good afternoon. So we do have some additional changes to the evacuation zones. We have from red to yellow is K61A, K166, and K40, and that's all going to be on this western edge here. And then we also, back to normal, further out to the west, is K61B, K76, and K41. Just to keep in mind that there is a difference between, slight difference between our evacuation zones, and there is a Forest Service closure. So I want to bring that map up. It's very close, but there are slight differences. So there is a road closure here at Trimmer Springs and Big Creek Road, which goes up into Blue Canyon and up to Rock Creek Road past Dinky Creek. So that road, the closure includes the road, so you can't currently go down either of those roads. So you can access this map on the INSEE web. Please take a look at that, and keep that in mind when you start coming back to the area, that there is a Forest Service closure that's slightly different than our closure. And you could also sign up for our updates on Everbridge, and also check our website. There's a link to our evacuation map there, and we'll put everything out as soon as we can on our social media pages. Thank you.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Appreciate that. And next up, your Forest Supervisor for the Sierra National Forest, Dean Gould.
Good evening. Just wanted to cover a couple things this evening. First, Lieutenant Hamilton covered the changes to the evacuation and the closure overlay very well. I just wanted to add to that, we can keep that promise that I made to you, that as soon as there are significant nuances between the two, we will absolutely modify the forest order to shrink that down. As it is right now, if we could bring that up, okay. Yeah, it's really along this edge and a little bit down here. That's where the difference between the changes that the county has made and the forest closure order. So not real significant in terms of access. If there are those that are interested in access to these areas, same things that we've been discussing in the past few days as far as making those requests. We understand in close coordination again with the Sheriff's Department that there's likely to be continued adjustments here in the days to come, and I'm certain that we'll be making an adjustment to the force order accordingly. So more to follow on that, and we will definitely shrink this as quickly as we can. Okay, going back to the operations map. All right, I just wanted to go back a couple weeks in time and just to refresh folks either memories or to share with you, if you haven't been monitoring these for that length of time. It was literally over 2 weeks ago that in briefing the potential perimeter, we were talking about the primary line, and that almost exactly is still the primary line that we have around this fire. Clearly, we are not at 100% containment. We're at 69. There is still work to do. As far as forward progression, it has been arrested. The acreage growth that we're likely to see from this point forward, probably some in here, probably some in here. And long and short of it, 2 weeks ago, we predicted that at that primary line, it would be about 65,000 acres. Best case, most probable case. Keep in mind, this terrain, you will not, as a firefighter, you're not going to find more difficult, more challenging terrain. You won't. And in spite of that, they made every effort they could to shave every acre off that they could, such as islands like this, and all the way up to Wishon. At one point, we thought that might be burned in. They were able to save all that. So again, just to summarize, 2 weeks ago, we figured the most likely place that we would catch is our primary line, the line that was strongest, most suitable for catching this fire. Not that we weren't trying to catch it closer, but the erratic topography here, the slopes just don't lend themselves to it. That's why the primary line is where it is. That added up to 65. And now, right now, we're estimating final acreage for this, if all holds, 61 to 62,000, so 3,000 less than we even estimated. So, point being, you should not be any prouder of the teams that have been here, the 3,000 plus firefighters that have been here, the numerous stakeholders, Sierra National Forest staff, and on and on. They have done a miraculous job of holding this fire to that best case scenario. Obviously, no one is happy about 61,000 acres being burnt, obviously. I'm not saying that is a success. I'm saying that was the most practical size that this incident could be held to, and the fact that these two incidents 2 weeks ago planned that and held it to that, that's a job well done. So really, you should be expressing your appreciation to them. I'm certainly glad that they're here.
Thank you, Supervisor. Appreciate that. Next up, Deputy Incident Commander Alex McBath.
Good evening, everybody. All right, so a few numbers. The acres up to 59,573. The percent containment is 69%, and we have 2,868 folks on the fire. So with those numbers, you can see we have a decline in the amount of resources that we have on the incident, which is good for this time of the incident. We have resources that are timing out, meaning they've met their 14 days and are now going home. So we've thanked them for the hard work that they put in. All right, what do I see over the next 3 days? So the next 3 days, we're going into hotter and drier, which you heard from weather. That's kind of a red flag. So we still have some areas, some islands up there where they've been burning up on McKinney Grove Road, and those still have to fill in. So right now, we can expect that there's going to be probably roughly about another 5 to 1,000 acres growth, but it's all going to be within our perimeter. So if you see that come out on any of the information, that's why. We are, like I said last night, turning the corner into suppression repair, but we are not taking our focus off those values at risk. So we know that PG&E needs to get in and get their lines fixed. We know that McKinney Grove is still at risk. We still have McKinney Road that has fairly recent fire on it, and they're in there mopping up. So as we move into suppression repair, we still have
the right amount of resources to continue with the suppression, the holding, and the mop up of the rest of the fire. So over the next 2 days, we're going to see things kind of start calming down as far as information. Things are going to start stagnating a little bit as far as containment, acre growth, which is a good thing. But what we will start reporting on is the amount of suppression repair that we're getting done. So with that, I want to thank everybody and looking forward to your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Appreciate that. That's the formal presentation of tonight's meeting. Next, we're going to go into questions and answers that you submitted through email. First up, we're going to bring Operations Section Chief Chad Costa.
Okay, I have one question that I'm going to answer today, and it says, although significant resources are implemented to suppress the fire at its current northern active perimeter, what are your contingency response measures made and to be considered to suppress if, in the future, the fire or its embers jump the containment boundary to threaten to burn the improvements of Camp Elowin, Clyde Pack Outfitters, Camp Fresno, Ranger Station Dinky Creek Inn, and nearby cabins? So what I want to stress on this question, it's a good question, is all of those values were identified weeks ago. And I drove down into Camp Elowin. There's engines in there, there's hose everywhere. Just in front of the camp, there's a secondary contingency line that's in there. So if something, for instance, if something was to get out there in Dinky Creek, there's another line, there's hose, everything's been prepped. So firefighters have been in all of those values that are stated in that question for weeks now, preparing for something, for the fire to potentially get into there. So we have multiple contingency lines, we have plans, we have firefighters still up there, like Chief said. We're not the transition is fire suppression and forgetting about the fire. The north end of the fire is still our top priority. So rest assured, we have lines in there, we have plans, there's firefighters, and if anything was to happen, which I'm not expecting, we have a good plan. Thank you.
Thanks, Chad. Next, we got a question for the forest, so we're going to bring back up Supervisor Gould.
Thank you. Right. Actually, I have a couple questions. One is a holdover from yesterday. It came in just as we were wrapping up, so we weren't able to get to it. And that was what is the status of the toads up in the Rock Creek area? The fire is not getting, or at least to this point, it has not gotten up to the Rock Creek area. We do not foresee that it will. So the toads, from the fire perspective, should be doing just fine. Let's see, the next question. Does the Sierra National Forest have any green timber sales or fuels treatment projects planned? Well, excellent question. So this will take a minute, but I think it's going to be well worth your while, because I know there's been a lot of discussion, a lot of back and forth about there's not a plan and so forth, and that's simply not true. So let me share with you what is really in the works right now, and I think you're going to be very pleased with it. Similar to the incident where I mentioned they had a plan over 2 weeks ago and they've executed that plan spot on. Similarly, with the Sierra National Forest, we have a 5-year vegetation plan. And 5 years, you say, well, why isn't 10? Well, with everything as dynamic as it is on the forest, a 5-year plan is pretty robust. That takes a lot of effort to accurately scale that out and execute it. My point is, at least for now, of course, our operational year, our fiscal year, goes from October 1st to September 30th. So we are right on the cusp of starting a new operational year. For fiscal year 26, starting October 1st, we had 3 major vegetation projects planned. 2 of them on Bass Lake, Francis Junction, and Central Camp. On the south side, Kaiser East. The 3 of those projects combined added up to in the neighborhood of 21 to 22 million board feet. You may recall from the other night, I mentioned that our forest plan calls for us to produce 20 million board feet a year. So if there's anyone thinking out there that the forest or Dean is not interested in logging timber, not accurate. That is simply part of our overall program of work, and that is certainly a key feature. And so now, with this, you can certainly appreciate that that program of work that was literally supposed to be implemented here in just a couple weeks, we have to make some adjustments now, because now we have this, we have significant tree mortality, we have a lot of hazard trees. First priority is always public safety, so we have to get those hazard trees taken care of. There's a lot of salvage sale to do here, and the important thing when you have a situation like this is to get those trees that have succumbed to the fire, to get them off the forest, to get them to a processing plant as quickly as possible, preferably within the first year. Otherwise, the value of them goes down dramatically. So now, what was going to be those 3 sales that I mentioned next year, we need to now accommodate this and make sure that we're treating the hazard trees both from a forest health perspective as well as a public safety perspective, while still making sure that our green program continues on. And so an awful lot of work to do. I've already stood up a team. Approximately 10 of our very best employees have already been earmarked, and they know that their number one priority, period, is responding to this. It's going to be setting up the deck sales, setting up the salvage sales, getting the fuels treatments done, getting the reforestation addressed, all 3 aspects over the next year. It's going to take multiple years, of course, but this first year is so important. And so I just want you, everyone, to appreciate and know that there is absolutely a plan. We have it planned out for 5 years. Now, as a result of the incident, we have to adjust what was going to be our plan starting here in just a couple weeks. We have to completely revamp that and focus on this and still do the best we can on those others. Those sales are still going to go forward. They may be delayed a bit, but those 3 sales I mentioned, they're still going to happen in addition to all the treatments here.
Thank you, Supervisor Gould. Appreciate that. And that was all the questions that were emailed in to us. We're going to have this meeting again tomorrow night at 5:30. Please email your questions in, and we'll answer those after the formal presentation. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate your attention today. Happy Sunday. We'll talk to you tomorrow.